30 seconds to go. Once again, it's another Race the World, number 5, City and the Spur. I guess that's what it's called. This race was my first race back. I hadn't raced since Saturday. I kind of had to juice Sunday and worked early Monday, and I just got back Thursday late, so I couldn't really ride most of the week. So this was my first race Friday morning, and I decided to see how I do on this one. So we're at 4, 3, 2, and we're off. And with this race today, you'll see, this was mostly, I should have raced it Sunday, but I didn't have enough time. I was thinking that if I finished juicing early enough, I was gonna race Sunday and see how this race really was, because I've been getting advice on racing early, and I've been getting advice on bikes. I'm glad to get the feedback on the bikes and the comments. Thank y'all so much for that. It really does help out. I'm actually gonna take some of my trips and buy me a nice gravel bike. They told me don't worry about, I think it was the mountain bike or the gravel bike, but they told me not to worry about one of them. I gotta go back and look at the comments. But when I do, I'll figure it out. But thank you for dropping the comments so I can go back and look at them. So with this race, I sped it up some because this is quite a long race, and I didn't want to just drag it out. It ended up being like, this is a 9-mile race. In my head, I was thinking 9 miles. Since I hadn't rode it 9 miles, this race was going to take about 20, 23, 22 minutes. It ended up taking like 37, I think it ended up doing. So I decided to speed it up through the middle of the race, up until the last 1,000 feet of it, 0.2 part of the race. So that's when I slowed it down. But as you can see on this race, at one point they left me by 30 seconds. Now, let me let y'all know about this race. This is number 50 for me. I started racing June 29th, and right now is, what was today? Today's is September 1st, and I've just reached 50 races. I am excited because I hadn't thought that I would be getting this far, but I'm happy about it. Now this race, normally this race would have truly crushed me. If y'all remember the first race that I ever did, one of the first races I did where it had the mountain in it, and normally I come in 17, 20, but I guess because my legs were a little bit more fresh. Now I don't understand. Part of it was lately, because I'm getting used to the riding, because my legs are getting a little wore in. Plus this was the first one, and I didn't really have enough time to actually warm up this morning. I just hopped up, got downstairs, and kind of hopped on the bike, did about a 5-minute warm up before the race started. And so my legs wasn't truly warm. I didn't get a chance to do the hydro like I like to do before I race. I will do that tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. I'm gonna drop this Saturday morning, but 5 o'clock, I drop all my stuff at 5 o'clock in the morning. So that's Eastern Standard Time. So that was time I drop all my videos. This one will come out tomorrow morning. So it'll come out actually when I start my Swift Insider races tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing all of y'all there. Everybody who watches my videos, everybody who likes to see what I'm doing. I love the Swift Insider races. They're just exciting. And I'm actually do the Swift Insider race right after that, when at 6 o'clock, the chat-in race. I'm gonna do that one too. So I'm gonna do a 30-minute race right after that. Now, if I do any more races that day, probably gonna end up being about 7, 8, about 9 or 10 o'clock. So I'm gonna give my legs a little time to rest before I go back out and race again. So I'm probably gonna get a couple more in though. But 50-year race, what have I learned? Well, I've learned that not everything is the same. Meaning that normally I would race everything in every race. I should go out and just power blast the race. And I've learned to ride in a groove. I was gonna ride another race this afternoon, but I needed to do my voiceovers, and I knew I needed to get this out, and I didn't have nothing prepared for tomorrow morning. So that's what I did. Now you see me going on this race, and I hit since I did not race this race Sunday, which I really wanted to do, and Monday I had to get out here so early that I couldn't race it, that you can see that I was hitting the feather too early. And I would get around, and I didn't know it was gonna be this hilly. I thought it was gonna have the gravel hill that I'm used to seeing. It never occurred to me that this thing, up until I saw the race, that this thing was 2 laps. So when I took off and I got in the race, the number 1 guy took off in front of me, and man, he was gone. Once we got to the hills, at first I would leave him on the flats, but when we get to the hills, it's still, the weight difference is still there, but it's not as bad anymore. That's what I should say. I've gotten endurance, I've gotten ability to, my legs are getting stronger and stronger, so it's not as bad. But when I went back and looked at the weight disparities between me and first, second, and third, I think the third person weighed 58 kilos. The one after that, number 2 weighed 70 something. Number 1, I didn't see the weight. Maybe I missed it, but I didn't see it. I didn't see number 1's weight. But you can see me, and I was like, oh my God, I weighed like the number 3 guy. I weighed 120 kilos more than that. And so the weight disparity on here is really great. My power disparity makes up for a lot of it. So me to sit here and gripe on the weight, oh God, the weight. I've been doing it, but I've been learning, I've been building up my power. And as you can see, I started putting the graph down there so people could see how I actually burn. So you don't think I'm just mass monstering the thing out, but you can see where I'm at when I'm putting the power at and where I'm in the green, where I'm in the red. And this race, every time I got to the mountain part, the number 1 guy would come back up, G. Gillen, and the number 2 person would come up, and they would just pass me by. And it's nice. I think I seen one of them had done like 200 races and the other one done like 3. So it's exciting to know that eventually I'm gonna get there. So it's I'm not discouraged because, oh my God, my weight really held me back. No, I'm gonna get there. To everybody who's trying to do something, everybody who's trying to lose weight, you will get there. I heard somebody the other day, she was talking to me, and me and my wife, and she was going, I started working, I started walking every day for a month, and I hadn't seen too much of, I said, just keep going. Don't stop. You feel a little bit healthier, don't you? I said, it's not about seeing the numbers right away. Coming from a guy who weighed 517 pounds, when I weighed myself, I probably weighed more. I was starting to try to lose weight, and I finally found a thing that could scale me. And I hopped on, and it said 517. I probably weighed more than that. I don't know. But I know I had been walking for like a month until I found something that can actually scale me. So now I can scale. I have a scale that goes up to 450 pounds, but I'm below that now, so I'm doing great. I know this is a race, and I should be coming more on the race, but I'm more excited about the idea that it's the 50th race, and I'm giving clues on what to do, and I'm trying to encourage other people who are trying to do what I'm doing with weight loss to really understand that it's not gonna happen overnight. Think about it. I heard somebody say something funny one time, and I really do believe it. And he asked the dude, somebody got asked how you get so heavy. So if you ask me, how did I get to 517 pounds? I'm gonna tell you the truth. Hard work and dedication, meaning I was eating everything and not realizing what was putting in my body and not concentrating on eating right. I had a sedentary work lifestyle where I was in a truck 24 hours a day, sometimes 14, 15 days in a row. I don't ride like that no more. But I was. So that caused me to live that lifestyle of salt and sugar and grease. And you do that, and before you know it, you're bigger than you ever wanted to be in your life. And I'm sorry I don't want to discourage anybody about weight or talk bad. Nobody wants to be that heavy. Nobody does. So I want to encourage everyone, don't get upset because you a little bit heavier than most people. Don't worry about that. Worry about what you feel inside. Don't worry about the number, what the scale says. The scale is not the boss of you. You are the boss of you. Remember that. So if the scale says something, put the scale away. Up until I started Swifting and I scale myself once a month, now it's just so people can see my progress or see if I'm losing or if I'm gaining. I would scale every 3 months. I would see my doctor every 3 months, and I would scale every 3 months. Another thing I want to advise somebody before you start doing what I'm doing with the Swift and my heart rate, now, get yourself checked out. I had an EKG, I had a stress test, and I had a nuclear where they put the fluid in your body and they go through and put you in an MRI and they look at your heart. I made sure, I did that in November. I made sure I was ready to actually get even more into this. I would get EKGs and I would get stress tests, but I wanted to make sure my heart was okay for me to do what I'm really doing now, because I'm really getting into it more and more. Give me the ability to actually work out even harder. And I would get tested. My doctor advised me to start doing, at least I do the EKG every year, and I may do a stress test, but I do the nuclear test every 2 years. So we're back at this race, and as you can see, I've let go of this race. Sorry about that, everyone. I got kind of caught up in myself with this weight thing. I'm in 4th. And when I'm riding this race in 4th place, you can see that on the downhills, I'm good. On the uphills, I was bad. So my goal now is to hold on to my 4th spot. Number 1 guy, I think he ended up being like 2 minutes ahead of me by now. Number 2 guy ended up being like 3 minutes ahead. And number 3 guy, I think he was about 40 or 45 seconds ahead. And I knew because of what the race was and where it was going, I was gonna go back up that gravel. So my goal was to I saw him and I was trying to catch the number 3 person, but I could see that they were, when I went back and looked at it, I was wondering why I was having so many issues trying to catch them. But I had to look at it and understand that that person was much lighter and they could put out a little bit fraction, a third of what I was putting out. And actually we would be doing about the same because I'm putting out so much, but my weight was actually so much further ahead of what they were. Now you can see me walk them down, but because of where we was at and because of how the hill was made, it really didn't work for me. So as we coming up the hill, you see me fall back to 6. And in my, I refused. Look, I can lose 1, 2, 3. I didn't make the podium with those 3, but I was not gonna lose my 4th spot. I worked too hard for my 4th spot. So I decided that I'm gonna go get my 4th spot. And so I chased them down, up and down these hills. I didn't care what it took. I was gonna get my 4th spot back. Hill or no hill, damn it, it's mine. I've earned it. So I was gonna chase this thing down and I looked up and we had 3.3 miles to go. And I started getting nervous because as soon it was gonna be at point 2, the hill is getting harder, but he has to get, sorry to get so loud, but I'm thinking to myself, he has to be getting tired, just like I'm tired. So if it comes down to who has the bigger wheel, I do. That's the way I felt about it. My wheel is bigger than your wheel. Well, I am bigger than you anyway, so I have a bigger wheel. Let's go with that. We're gonna stick with that. So my wheel is bigger than what your wheel is. And as you see, I said at 1,000 feet, I slowed it down. And I was not gonna let him have not without a fight. That's what I felt. If I'm in 5th place and finish in 5th place, if that's where I end, that's where I end. But I was not gonna let him finish. My coach told me a long time ago when I used to wrestle, and I had lost a match, and I was saying to him, I was sorry about the match. And he looked at me and he said, if you can go in the mirror and you feel good about you worked your hardest and you still lost, that's who you have to prove things to. So for me, I hadn't put in my hardest yet. So I was putting my hardest in, and when I passed him, I knew that he wanted the 4th spot back. He wanted it back, and we got less than 200 feet back. Dude, we got less than 300 feet, and I know he wants his 4th spot back. You know what I said to him? No, you cannot have it back, it's mine. And so I took off with this. I know I went on a long rant on this thing, but I wanna say, thank y'all for following me. This is the 50th race. I will have more races soon, but have a good day and ride on.